The Hurry Up.
Welcome into the NESN Digital Studios for another week of The Hurry Up. I'm Courtney Cox, in a crazy week last week with so many upsets, so we got to bring in our guy, Nick Goss, to talk about storylines heading into the exciting week ahead of us. To start this one off, we're going to talk about a rookie who you think there's a possibility could win MVP. It hasn't happened since 1957. Who you got there?
Running back for the Kansas City Chiefs, Kareem Hunt. He has been phenomenal through 3 weeks. 401 rushing yards, 528 all-purpose yards. That's the second most by a rookie since the 50s. He's also scoring touchdowns, breaking off big plays. He's been a real difference maker for the Chiefs. We don't see rookies win MVP that often at all, but if the Chiefs were to get the #1 seed and he keeps up a good pace, I don't see any reason why he can't be in the conversation or the top candidate.
All right, let's talk about the NFC East. A lot of teams are 2-1 in that conference. In your opinion, who's the best one out of them all?
You know, I still got to go with the Cowboys. They really impressed me Monday night with their win over the Cardinals. It was a gutsy win. Their defense has been ravaged by injuries and suspensions, but they're still 10th in yards allowed per game, which is pretty good. Ezekiel Elliott, after his Monday performance, looks like he's finally getting into gear after a slow start. And Dak Prescott doesn't make a lot of mistakes, and they still have a pretty good offensive line. So I think the totality of their roster is better than those other teams, and I trust them a little more despite a tough schedule coming up.
And last but certainly not least, we got to talk about the Lions. Detroit is looking pretty good. They're 2-1 on the season. Their loss coming from the Falcons, who are 3-0. So, I mean, the Falcons look very good, too. There was no Super Bowl hangover there. How good is this team?
I think Detroit's really good. I think they can win the NFC North. Matt Stafford is playing very well. The rushing attack has been pretty good as well. And their defense has really improved, which has been the Achilles heel of this team for a lot of years. They have 8 turnovers, tied for the second most in the league. Their 7 interceptions are the second most in the league as well. So they're getting off the field, giving Matt Stafford short fields to work with, and he's doing well. They do have a tough schedule coming up, but I like the way they're playing, and they should have won in Week 3. They got screwed by the refs. Golden Tate was in the end zone, but I like what I see from the Lions so far.
All right, hot take there. And you can follow along Nick on Twitter at Nick Goss NESN. He always has the storylines for you. He's a good follow, so make sure to do that. But now we're going to send it to our friends out at Gillette Stadium.
The New England Patriots take on the Carolina Panthers this Sunday at Gillette Stadium. This is the first time the teams are meeting in the regular season since 2013. This year, both teams are 2-1 at this point, but you could argue, guys, that the Panthers are worse than their record suggests at this point.
Yeah, they haven't played very many impressive teams thus far. They played the San Francisco 49ers, Buffalo Bills, and the New Orleans Saints. They really got smoked by the Saints. Patriots smoked the Saints, so by use of transitive property, is that the right term?
I believe so. We're not math people
the
here.
Patriots should then destroy the Panthers. But I guess we'll just kind of have to see how this game goes. But Bill Belichick was really talking up the Saints. He called Cam Newton the best mobile quarterback in the NFL. The Seattle Seahawks fans, even Russell Wilson himself, might have something to say about that. But I think that Bill Belichick was just really talking up this Panthers team to make sure that his team doesn't get complacent.
Well, his quarterback isn't doing too bad either. Now, Brady won AFC Player of the Week honors for the second straight week. Are we expecting the same production out of him this week?
Well, I don't know if we can expect quite the same production. You're not going to have too many 5 touchdown, 0 interception games. But yeah, Tom Brady has been phenomenal ever since that Week 1 game where he was statistically one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL that week. He's been one of the best these past 2 weeks, as evidenced by those consecutive AFC Offensive Player of the Week honors. Going up against the Panthers team this week, who does have a pretty good defense, especially in the front seven. Belichick called the front seven one of the best they'll see all season, and I don't think that was an exaggeration. You've got Luke Kuechly, Thomas Davis, Kawan Short, a lot of these guys in there who can really rush the passer and cover well too. Their secondary, though, not so much. I mean, it's a unit where I don't think many casual fans will even know who a lot of these guys are that are playing back there. Statistically, they're doing pretty well this season. They're up near the top of the NFL in total defense and in passing defense. But like similar to what the case was this past week with the Texans, if the Patriots can keep Tom Brady upright, if they can give him time to throw, I think they can really pick apart this unit. So to answer your original question, yes, I do think that this could be another big game for Tom Brady.
Well, we're looking forward to watching this one. Back to you, Court.
Welcome back into the NESN Digital Studios, here now with Mike Cole, which means it's time for Lock and Upset. Before we talk about this week, we do have to revisit last week. A crazy week in football, lots of upsets, but you did okay. You were batting 500, as they say, so you were 1-1.
Yeah, that's, I'll take that, I guess. It's even money, and, if I was a 500
batter in baseball, I'd be in the Hall of Fame.
Exactly.
Like the best player ever. So.
So there you have it. All right, well, now let's
ever.
move on to this week. Let's start with your lock. Okay. We are New England Sports Network. We are in New England, so this one, a lot of people that are probably watching will be excited about. Disclaimer, he's a Green Bay Packers fan, so this isn't like a fan thing for you.
Yeah, this pains me, but I'm going to take the Patriots as 9-point favorites at home against the Carolina Panthers. For me, it comes down to the offenses. You know, a lot's been made about how bad the Patriots' defense has been, but I just look at that offense. They scored 36 points last week against a very good defense. Tom Brady might be getting better. I mean, they've exploited that deep ball, which New Orleans kind of had some success against Carolina with last week. And I look at that Panthers offense. The injury to Greg Olsen, I think, was a huge blow to that team. Now they could be without Kelvin Benjamin as well. It's just, I don't know. It's a tough spot for them to come into New England and beat the Patriots. The Patriots did kind of struggle with Deshaun Watson, a mobile quarterback, last week. I think they kind of get that figured out this week. I think having those two teams back-to-back kind of helps them. They kind of saw what they had last week. They'll make adjustments. They'll be better again this week against Newton, who's looked a shell of himself so far this season.
Well, I was just going to say, I'm sure Carolina fans would hate me for saying this, but I think Deshaun Watson's a way better quarterback than Cam Newton.
Right now he might be. I mean, I think that shoulder injury that Newton had over the offseason might still be lingering. He doesn't look 100%, and you take away two of his best targets, it's going to be a tough day.
Right. Well, your upset kind of surprised me. The Giants, you have this game.
Yeah, I got the Giants 3-point underdogs on the road against Tampa Bay. I think this has more to do with me being down on the Bucs than anything else. I just look at this Bucs team, and it's a team that some people said even had Super Bowl aspirations. I just don't see it. I think Jameis Winston's too careless with the football from time to time. I still believe in this New York defense, so I think that they kind of make life miserable for Jameis this weekend. And the Giants did kind of break out on offense last week. I think this is kind of what we expected of them. They had 3 receivers last week with at least 66 yards receiving. Eli kind of got his head out of his butt, started playing a little bit better. Sterling Shepard was fantastic last week. A lot of deep balls, a lot of explosive plays. And you look at what the Bucs did last week. They could not get out of their own way with Stephon Diggs, who was just fantastic. So I think a lot of big plays for the Giants this week. They find a way to finally get a win. I think they're better than 0-3.
Yeah, I watched with Giants fans on Sunday, and it was a heartbreaking
They look
moment
putrid for 2 weeks, and they kind of started to get together. Just a tough way to lose last week. So I think they're going in the right direction.
Yeah, and they were all. I mean, every Giants fan was like, "The season's over.
Well,
it's over."
Thing. You play so bad, and then to get your heart ripped out. That's
right.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
It's life in the big city.
All right. Well, always so much fun having Mike in here. You can tweet him at Mike Cole Nesson. But now we're going to send it to our good friends Nick and Andre, the roommates, who are going to have a little bit of a debate. That's always fun, so let's send it to them.
Andre Kachaturian, he's the always electrifying Nick Goss. Nick, we're in the 3rd week of the NFL season, heading to week 4. We got a lot of teams have 3 games in. It's time to play some contender-pretender, because some teams are doing well, but they might not be that good when the season continues. Let's first talk about the Minnesota Vikings, 2-1, great performance this past week. What are they, contender or pretender in your eyes?
They're pretenders as long as Case Keenum is the quarterback. I know that he won last week against Tampa Bay Bucs, a solid win. I think Dalvin Cook is the main reason why that offense is churning right now. But I think there are 2 teams better than them in that division. I think Detroit has really shown a defensive improvement this year. I like how Matt Stafford is playing at quarterback. And the Green Bay Packers clearly have an advantage at quarterback. Defense is not as strong, but I like their team overall. I think the Minnesota Vikings are a quality team, but I just don't see them winning the division, and so they're going to be pretenders for me.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. They're also pretenders in my book. Even if Sam Bradford does come back, let's not forget that this is Sam Bradford we're talking about. He had that good opening game, but can he continue that throughout the NFL season? I'm not sure. I think that offense is going to be anemic down the road, and as you mentioned, the Packers and Lions in that division are both very good teams. The Los Angeles Rams, this is a team I love. I think they're contenders. Jared Goff has played phenomenally this year. They're my team to win the NFC West in the preseason. They're in first place in the NFC West. And let me tell you something. The Seattle Seahawks, they continue to struggle. It took them 8 quarters to get their first touchdown of the season. Russell Wilson, he had a good game in week 3, but was pressured throughout the whole game. That's going to continue throughout the season. The Rams, their defense is pretty solid. And their offense averaged 6.6 yards per play. That's more than the New England Patriots. It's fantastic. They're moving the ball at will against the 49ers, a team that held the Seahawks to just 12 points at home. I think the Rams are big-time contenders. What do you think?
I like the Rams a lot. I think Sean McVay has done an excellent job with Jared Goff, really putting him in an offense where he can succeed. Todd Gurley looks as good as he did his rookie year. The defense, as you mentioned, is really good. It was good last year as well. Aaron Donald is back after missing most of the preseason. But I need to see more of them for me. Too small of a sample size. Their wins are against the 49ers, who did hold the Seahawks to only a few points. I think a lot of teams can do that with the way the Seahawks are playing offensively. They also beat the Colts, who obviously aren't a very good team. And they lost to the Redskins, who I think are a pretty good team. So I need to see a little more sample size from the Rams, but I do like what they're doing. I think I'm going to lean pretenders right now, but I could definitely change my mind in the coming weeks. Those Seattle games in the division are going to be so important. I like what they're doing, but contenders for me right now.
They always match up well against the Seahawks, even when they were bad. Next team I want to talk about really quickly, the Tennessee Titans in the AFC South. They haven't won that division since 2008. Contenders or pretenders, man?
I'm going to go contenders. I like Mariota. Doesn't make a lot of mistakes. DeMarco Murray's resurgence last week was really good. We know Derrick Henry gives him another dynamic in that backfield as well. The defense is solid too. I like their schedule coming up. They do have to play the Texans on the road next week, but then they have the Dolphins, Colts, Browns, Ravens, Bengals. They could be 7-2 by the time they face the Steelers on November 16th. I like this team a lot. I think they're taking steps forward. But the Texans are pretty good.
That's what I'm talking about, the Houston Texans. Look, the Marcus Mariota, he's the better quarterback than Deshaun Watson, clearly. But we've seen how much Watson grew this past week at New England. Imagine you're a rookie quarterback, you're going to a building with thousands of screaming fans, 5 Super Bowl banners. You got to be overwhelmed looking at that. Oh, man, I'm playing a team with 5 Super Bowl banners there. And he played really well. He almost won that game. And I love the Texans' defense. They gave up a ton of points to the Patriots, but that's going to happen against Tom Brady. The Texans' defense will get better as the year progresses. Statistically, it's kind of meh right now, but we're going to see that team thrive as the season progresses. I think the Titans are pretenders. The Texans will win that division. All right, let's send it across the set now to Darren Hartwell and Courtney Cox for the Fantasy Waiver Wire.
Great stuff from Nick and Andre. Now in the studio, we have Darren Hartwell, so it's time to talk fantasy, of course. Your waiver wire guys for this upcoming week. We're going to start with the most important position, running back. Who you've got?
I'm looking at Wendell Smallwood this week. Obviously, usually comes down to injuries with waiver wire, and that's the case. Darren Sproles tore his ACL and broke his arm on the same play. Not ideal. But Smallwood can kind of take Sproles' role. LeGarrette Blount's kind of the goal line back still, but I think Smallwood could see a lot of targets going forward. He had 13 touches last week, so he can factor into the running game and the passing game.
All right, then outside of running back, let's go to wideout.
Yeah, I'm looking at Sterling Shepard on the Giants. The Giants really can't run the ball, and I know the offense has been struggling, but he did have a 77-yard touchdown. That was kind of the big play for them last week. And I just think that he's kind of the number 2 wide receiver behind Odell Beckham right now. Brandon Marshall isn't really doing anything. It's also a good matchup next week. They're playing the Bucs. They've actually given up the most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers this season, so I like him at least in week 4.
Interesting for you to say that because Mike Cole actually has that Giants-Bucs game as the upset of the week, so we're all on the same page.
We're all working together.
Yeah, exactly.
Teamwork.
All right, well, outside of those 2 important positions, anybody else you've got leading into this week?
Yeah, I actually like Charles Clay at tight end. He's still relatively unowned, about 20%, but he's the 5th highest scoring tight end in fantasy right now, ahead of guys like Travis Kelce. I think he's kind of Tyrod Taylor's red zone target there. He has 2 touchdowns through 3 games, getting a lot of targets. So I think he's a pretty safe bet for that volume to continue. So if you need a tight end, I think he's worth picking up.
All right, well, there you have it. And if you need fantasy advice at home, you want to make sure to ask Darren at Darren_Hartwell. And now we're going to send it to Ricky Doyle for some show and tell.
The name of the game is Show and Tell. This is where I bring in objects each week and usually give you a few developing thoughts I have on the 2017 NFL season. First up this week, I got some Fig Newtons. This is, if you follow our NFL picks column each week, you know that I made a joke about the Panthers might as well have Wayne Newton at quarterback when they're going up against the Saints defense. Well, Cam Newton looked like a Fig Newton because he absolutely sucked. And this is becoming an all too common trend for the Panthers quarterback. Dating back to last season, he had the 3rd worst passer rating in the NFL, the worst completion percentage. Those trends have only continued this season. The Panthers are 2-1, but it's only because of a soft schedule and a good defense. I wanted to see more from Newton against that Saints defense. He didn't do it. I think the Panthers are in trouble. I'm not saying they make a change. I mean, what's the alternative? Derek Anderson? But stop telling me that Cam Newton is an elite quarterback because he absolutely is not. Next up, I'm going to bring in this little happy face. A nice little gift card I got sent in the mail. I don't know why I have it, but it's a happy face. You know who isn't happy, though? We're going to turn that smile upside down to a frown. Is Gerald McCoy of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Called out, quote, social media tough guys after Tampa Bay's loss to Minnesota. Listen, guy, just let it go. This tells me that you're soft, that you're even responding to these internet trolls. You went ahead and you gave the Buccaneers headquarter address. I mean, listen, anybody with Google, Bing, Ask Jeeves, whatever you want, they can find out that information. The whole say it to my face defense is just tired. Get over it. These people are going to continue to criticize you, especially when you put yourself out like that. So Gerald McCoy, come on. Not a happy camper, neither am I. Finally, we got a nice bottle of Orange Crush. The Broncos went from the Orange Crush to the Orange Crushed. And Von Miller got called for an unsportsmanlike penalty for pulling the old too slow on Tyrod Taylor. I loved it. They're friends. They need the officials need to have a better understanding of the pulse of the game. I don't know how you can call a penalty in that situation in week 3. Ultimately, it led to the Bills kicking a field goal. So I got to give it up. I don't like the officiating in that one. Derek Wolfe said after the game, people are so insensitive that it really just makes them want to throw up. You know what, Derek? I'm with you on this one. It makes me want to puke as well.
Well, that will do it for this week of the Hurry Up. We hope to see you back in the NESN Digital Studios next week for another week of the NFL. Exciting stuff. Make sure to keep it locked in right here at NESN.com. We've got everything you need to know about this NFL season.